Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari. Thank you very much for joining us in another session of interviews about Books Are the Basis, which are recorded for our YouTube channel of ISKCON Ministry of Education. And these videos are made in cooperation with Vaishnavi Ministry as well. So I found a little bit about our today's guest is Her Grace Annapurna Devi Dasi. And I think you're very known for your artwork in the world. I actually took your book, I mean your daughter's book, but your pictures are in here. So I think they're very beautiful. I have all three of them here, and I saw many of pictures of Krishna that you painted, the cowherd boys, Radharani, Vidyadevi, and so on, and they're so beautiful. So in a sense, I'm very excited about this interview because I personally would also like to show how there is no one way of thinking how books are the basis in our Krishna consciousness philosophy, because I think that the philosophy and the Vedic books, the stories that Srila Prabhupada brought us, can be used by every member of this society, spiritual society, in ways that they can express their devotion to God. And I think you're a great example how reading all these stories, leelas, Krishna's leelas, can be a great meditation in which you can then paint them and then present them to the world. How is it said that these pictures are
windows to the spiritual world?
Yes, so I think it's wonderful. So I know that you are from Sweden. Majority of your life you spent there, but then you moved to United States, and now you're living in Alachua community, right?
Yes, that's right.
And so your main devotional service is through art, and you have a wonderful family. I know that you're very proud of your grandchildren. You love them very much. So it's very nicely, I mean, it can be seen and very nicely expressed by you. So that's a little bit what I will say about you. But then I would like to ask you if you can tell a little bit more about yourself, like how you came to Krishna consciousness and what inspired you to come, some of your realizations at the beginning. So we can start with that, and then we'll see where it can lead us.
Okay. I basically came in contact with Krishna consciousness through Srila Prabhupada's books. It was one of the first small books they translated to Swedish, was Krishna, the Source of All Pleasure. It was a nice little book that kind of summarized the philosophy very nicely, and it was like, for me, some people, it's to come to a more spiritual awareness and taking our steps towards God realization and self-realization. It can be a gradual step, and it is, of course. But for me, coming into contact with Srila Prabhupada's books was like, you know, when you have these aha moments in your life, it was like, wow, this is it. This is what I have been looking for. I became like totally, like finally I have found what I was looking for.
That's wonderful.
And I tried to share it with family and friends, and I was surprised that they didn't get it the same as I did, you know. But that together with, in my hometown in Sweden, the devotees from Stockholm, they came to my hometown because there was a music festival. And they were supposed to be on stage and have a performance, but somehow the organization or the organizing didn't work. So they sat down under a tree and they sang Hare Krishna and distributed some prasadam. And there is one devotee, Krishna Premi. She was one of the first devotees there in Sweden, and she liked bhajan and kirtan, and she was singing. They were singing Hare Krishna mantra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was a little high. You know, we had been smoking a little, and I just remember the whole energy from the Hare Krishna mantra. It went into my heart,
mm-hmm.
like this, and it was super powerful, and it changed my life forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a very drastic. I mean, I came from a platform where I had been looking for, you know, understanding. Like most of us, we want to understand ourselves. We want to understand our life and, you know, the mysteries of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I had been looking around, you know, in many places. And most of us who take up Krishna consciousness, we have been looking for many lifetimes, most likely. And so I kind of, it has to be something, any intelligent person, you know, there has to be something beyond this wonderful, mysterious existence. I always connected with nature because I could see the divine energy in nature. So, but I had been looking in the wrong places. So when I came in contact with devotees, and one of the first books they had in Sweden was Sri Upanishad. And see, I'm a very visual person, and I have an artistic mind and probably intelligence, and so pictures have always been and is still extremely important to me. So the picture of the first Sri Upanishad they gave out, it's by Yadurani or Shamarani, and it's Keshava Vishnu with, you know, the hoods of Shesha, Ananta Shesha in the back, and it's like, wow. And he looks down a little bit, like very beautiful, you know, and this must be God. I was just enamored by this picture. So that has also played an important role in how I came to Krishna consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I want to show you a little, it's an old, I think it was in the songbook. It's this picture.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't see it around much now, but I also like black and white art expressions, and I still have this after all these years. I kept it. Although I've been moving around and changed my life a lot. But yes, so that's how I came to Krishna consciousness. I packed my belongings, and my mother helped me to move to the temple outside of Stockholm, Korsnäs Gård. It's I think it still is a BBT center. It was a BBT center for many years, and it was lots of activities going on there. It was devotees from, you know, the the Eastern Europe and Russia.
Yeah.
I didn't live there. When I first joined, I lived at Korsnäs, but then me and my husband, we moved to Norway, and we started a little preaching center in Oslo. But then when I got my daughter, Brinda Devi, it felt more like, I think I should live I think it would be nicer to live. We had just gotten Almviks Gård, which is a beautiful farm community, also outside of Stockholm. So in this beautiful farm community, I lived there for 16 years, and my daughter, she was raised there. Shall I tell something more about myself?
And then I would just ask, like, for my also interest. So then after that, you moved to United States because now you live in the Alachua community, or I'm just
it like my daughter, she's kind of she's a very introspective and honest, and she wants to free thinking personality, and she didn't have enough challenges on the farm in Sweden because it was a little isolated, and she didn't have many friends. So her dad suggested, well, why don't you we can send you to Lakshmi Muni's girl ashram in Alachua. And of course, for a young, she was 14, and go to the US and something new and exciting. So she wanted to. So I had to let my only child go at the age of 14 to the US. It was heartbreaking. It was one of my big heartbreaks in life. Anyway, she stayed in the ashram and got and from there she went to college, and her dad is American. So when she was born, he was actually American citizen. So she got American citizenship because he was still American. He renounced his American citizenship, but when she was born, he was still American citizen. So that was so. I don't know if I should say that I moved to the US in 2000. I did, but in my mind, it was like, wow, the US. I'm more like a nature person, and US, big everything and big corporation, and like I wasn't so attracted to
I also had that vision of the United States. I've never been there, but just like
But I wanted to be closer to my daughter. So I came there, and I lived in the Philadelphia temple for a few years. And I'm still here in the US, becoming agitated with all the politics and guns and shootings and anyway, I when I lived on the farm in Sweden, it was like almost like living in a bubble. No TV, no newspaper. I didn't even know about ABBA. ABBA?
Yes.
I didn't know about them because we didn't follow anything. So when I came to the US, I started to read the news, and I've been doing it for some years now, but I have now I come to a point that I want to minimize my exposure to internet information because it agitates my mind so much, and it doesn't contribute more than the agitation. Of course, I want to know what's going on in the world. Of course, I want to know what's going on in the community. But, I just turned 66, and we have a limited amount of years to live on this planet. So I have come to, like realizations comes to you like almost daily. And sometimes you forget because we are so much influenced by the modes of material nature. So sometimes I forget my intentions to be more in contact with my roots in the Bhakti tradition. So I'm trying to consciously steer my life to become more connected again. I mean, I was always connected, but I want to do it like when I joined for 20 years, it was like everyday Bhagavatam class. I learned verses. I learned even verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the last 15 years, I haven't learned anything, not even a verse or anything. So,
yeah, it's okay. I mean, when I talk to devotees, they also remember everything that they learned before, and now they're just repeating it. So,
yeah.
And there was one lady who said that she knew like, I don't know, a very large amount of verses of Bhagavad Gita, but then she said, like, as she gets old, she's in her 70s now, she forgot.
Okay.
Because her mind, I mean, her brain is not so young, she said like that. So it was quite funny when we talked about it. But I mean, I think that whether we know these verses or not, it's not so important. I remember once Swami, he said that Krishna in the spiritual world will not ask us to recite the verses or something like that. That's not so important.
No, but the verses can be helpful because I feel it's really important to. I just joined here in Alachua. We have temple program, and it's even broadcast online, so you can participate in programs online in your home. And there are many groups, like people get, because it's such a large community, and people get together in groups. And I have just joined a group, going back to Bhagavad Gita. I have read Bhagavad Gita, I don't know, like maybe 4-5 times, but that's like 20 years ago.
Yes.
So I want to go back to the basis of Bhagavad Gita and, be more, live Bhagavad Gita more consciously and apply the wisdom of this ancient sacred text,
Yeah, that's
because we are so fortunate. We are like part of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya, which is an authentic living tradition.
Yes.
I have had doubts about ISKCON as an organization because, like in 50 years, it changes. And, I've been upset and I have been wondering, where do I fit in nowadays,
Yeah.
But I'm beginning to find a way to feel like really good about my spiritual path and feeling enlivened. And it's, I can say that it's all about Prabhupada's books. Without them, that gives the foundation. Books are the basis, It's like so true.
So how do you see that?
How I see that?
Like this term. I mean, often people use it like, oh, books are the basis, books are the basis. But what does it practically mean for you in your spiritual life?
What it practically means? Well, regardless of changes in the world, regardless of changes and scandals or whatever it is in the institution, the books are there, you know. And if it wasn't for the philosophy that Srila Prabhupada gave, and you know, also the life of Srila Prabhupada is a great inspiration too. You know, I'm 66 now, and I'm feeling, you know, like my body is starting to deteriorate. And what he did at an old age, I mean, it's been repeated again and again, but it is an inspiration.
Yes.
And like the books, it keeps us in touch with this beautiful bhakti path.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
that's definitely true. And so you said like that when you lived in your farm community, and at the beginning you were listening to Srimad Bhagavatam classes every day and so on.
Yeah.
What were your like habits in reading? Not just listening to the classes, but if you can share a little bit, what actually meant for you to read Prabhupada's books in those beginnings, and what does it mean today?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was more like, wow, we have discovered this. This is the truth, and this is what I want to dedicate my life to. So it was more like following. In the beginning, it was of Krishna consciousness, the movement. It was more authority structure. So I was leaning a lot on the authority, and I just, I'm a simple person, you know, I just followed.
Yeah, I mean, that was the mood.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And it kind of made life simple. Sometimes nowadays I don't live in a temple, I'm independent, and sometimes I feel a little bit like lost, although I keep the connection. I have a Siksha guru that I feel very much is there with me on my spiritual path.
That's wonderful.
But I would like, I think, you know, everything, the moment is still relatively new, you know, and I think you have to find your tribe. We are all, as devotees, we are very different. We have come from different backgrounds. We have different value system. For some time, I was upset when devotees have different political opinions than I did. I couldn't understand where they were coming from. But, you know, I don't care about that now. And you find your tribe, you know, the people that you can share your doubts, you can share your happiness, your realizations, and your life with, you know. And in a big community like Alacha, where there are several thousand devotees, this is what happens here. You find your tribe, so to say.
Yeah, that's totally normal, because even in the spiritual world, there are tribes.
Yeah.
In the material world.
Yeah.
So, and anyway, I always see like, I mean, everything that you said is totally true. And also it is true that, I mean, it is said that Prabhupada built a house in which the whole world can live. And in that sense, I think everyone can find their place. There will always be conservatives and liberals and ones like that. But,
you know, I had a little hard time because the movements as such seem to be going in the direction of conservative, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm totally liberal. But I have a little bit like broad-minded, you know, changing. I'm an artist, and I need to have this space where I can be able not to feel that I have to be under some, you know, like rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I don't even, I can't take that. And I feel also that, you know, it doesn't, Krishna accepts us for who we are, as long as we have this genuine, sincere desire to stay on this path.
Yeah.
And to, as much as we are comfortable with, follow the instructions. I mean, I live temple life, so I follow the instructions, you know, like, but I don't think it is totally for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's a very high standard.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. But it's okay also to be at home and to practice Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It has, yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. And anyway, I mean, as I understood from history, most of the, I mean, of course, we had Goswamis who lived a renounced life and everything, but all the majority of the Vaishnavas were grihastas, so
Yeah.
the same is today. So
Yeah.
in that sense, it will be the way it will be. But yeah, some people can live in the temple, some people cannot, but that doesn't prevent people to advance in spiritual life.
Yeah, I think it's important that you have like people who follow strictly. They can act as, you know, inspiration, and they put on the programs. Like here, the temple here are doing an amazing, they make these beautiful festivals where you have to cook for hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, and they make really wonderful festivals. And but Alaska is it's an interesting community because you have the ISKCON temple, you also have a Narayan Maharaj temple.
Okay.
And you have a little offshoot which with Dear Govinda has a little group of very nice Sattva-tov, it's called, and he's focusing on self-improvement, communication, and you know, it's very personal. Yeah. So
It's wonderful. I mean,
I feel like this. I always felt like inclusive. I can't go into, you know, if somebody has a different, like a little bit different philosophical. I'm not that smart, you know. I see everybody, they are devotees, you know.
that's a nice vision. I think that's a good vision. So, but can you tell me, like, how did you how did Prabhupada's books helped your spiritual life? Like this knowledge that he gave, how do you see that?
It has helped me to change my perspective.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah.
Who am I? And the perspective, I don't read so much. I mostly listen to podcasts and lectures, but I read about the glories of Nityananda Prabhu from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you know, how Krishna is Balaram is his first expansion, and then it comes the Chaturvyuha, and you know, like the philosophy is so mind-blowing, and it gives you access to something that who has access to this knowledge, you know. Some people think it might be mythology and they don't, but you know, I know in my heart that this is the truth of life, you know. So it's amazing. So in that sense, it's a source of inspiration in my spiritual life, and it's a source of, I would not feel inspired to do art just for the sake of doing art. Like most art nowadays, it's about expression, or they might have like a message or something. But for me, I couldn't see myself. I cannot do art if I'm not inspired.
Yeah.
And there is so much. And to take the knowledge from Srila Prabhupada's books and get the information and not speculating.
Yeah.
That it's my life,
Yeah.
That's how it has become.
I was reading, I think you wrote an article in Back to Godhead. It was there, so I read it because I always do a little bit research of my guests. And I remember how you said, like, it's very easy to, it's easy to say to someone, well, Krishna, he has a blue color, or the color of a blackish rain cloud, and he has a flute, and he has this and this, what is written in the books. That's one thing. And then some people cannot perceive it, that God can look like that. But then you said, when you show them the picture, then they see how Krishna beautiful, how he is beautiful. And I liked how you wrote that, because actually, in a way, artists, they create these pictures in the spiritual world. So, and in a way, maybe you can tell us a little bit about it. Isn't it like remember, we have various types of devotional service, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on. But Smaranam is remembering Krishna. So we read about Krishna, we remember, and then in this remembrance comes meditation and painting. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experiences in your artwork in this sense. So it would be interesting to hear.
When I left the farm in Sweden, after living in this little bit like a bubble for so many years, and beginning to interact more with the outside world, when I came here to the US, I went for a 2-year art foundation college. And I brought with me this something, I don't know where it comes from, but it seems like it's something that was meant to be, that I wanted to do an illustrated Ramayana. This the seed of this Sita's Fire trilogy, it's from my time back when I lived on the farm in Sweden. So if you have practiced bhakti for like 40 plus years, of course you change as a person, you go through transitions. And for me to make the transition for this, we were talking about this leaning on authorities and just being a simple follower and doing the needful.
Yeah.
To find myself and my own place, and like not so much on a spiritual platform, but more like materially, who am I? We both have a material existence, and we have a spiritual existence. We have a spiritual nature. And to find out who I am, it's been a journey. And the art, my ability to do this Sita Spire trilogy, the artwork, it became like a crutch for me. It helped me, because I don't know if this is true, but this is my perception. Many of us who joined in the early days of the movement, we came with quite some luggage, and I personally feel that it's important to, if you have issues, it's important for your own personality development to work with them, and because it connects you more within, and I feel it's part of realizing who you are, So I don't know how honest I should be here and how many people are watching, but
I mean, ISKCON community will watch because it will be on YouTube, but I don't know. You can say whatever you like to say.
yeah, I like to be honest and quite raw.
Yeah, sure.
I have struggled with depression my whole life and even trauma, So me working with this art and working to become a more whole and happy and balanced person, which I think is important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if you are outside in the world, what do people see? They see you, who you are as a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't go out and say, well, my faith is I'm a Krishna devotee, but they can discover it if they want to, But I feel that your actions almost speaks louder than your words, because sometimes it's a tendency because we have this philosophy and it becomes in the head more than in the heart, But Bhakti is about transformation. That's what life is about.
Mm-hmm.
And the transformation is in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So art actually became part of this wonderful transformation from having a lot of luggage and depression and trauma, and to find that I can express myself through art, and I can express and especially the Ramayana became really important because it's Lord Ram. He's a human being. I mean, he's not a human being, but in this particular incarnation, he acts like a human being and it's extremely interesting, the whole Ramayana tale. I had to read it, not just my daughter's writing, but I had to read other versions of Ramayana too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it was very fulfilling. So,
yeah.
And the last book, Destroyer of Sorrow, it came out in 2021. And now I'm working on a few pictures from a book about Brinda Devi. And it's it's based on Kavya Karnapura, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, which is he was a very great devotee, and he was a child when Lord Chaitanya was present. And if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's one of the sons of Shivananda Sena, and he got the mercy to suck on Lord Chaitanya's toe.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so, and I'm also a little bit involved in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
There is this devotee Mahaprabhu who has this MOSA, Museum of Sacred Art. And we actually had a collaboration that didn't go because COVID happened.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would have had a exhibition together with that he was helping with because I have like hundreds of art pieces of art for the Ramayan book from Sita's Fire. And I hope he's a person, he's like, he stands by his words. And I think he's a little bit economically squashed now, but I think he will follow through. So I think that this exhibition, that it will eventually happen.
Yeah, I think it will be wonderful. I lived in Radovich, so I know that they're very much enthusiastic about spiritual art and willing to show spiritual art in the world, and they want to inspire others who have this artistic inclination to find their, as you said, like their role in the world in this kind of setting. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to ask you, because you said, like, when I asked you, like, how did Prabhupada's book influenced on you? You said that it changed your vision. Now I have to ask something that we asked all our guests, because this vision is like, you know how it is said in the books, our scriptures, that we should see the world through the eyes of the scriptures. So,
Yeah.
if you can tell me, like, how it looks that in your life, like
How I can how I look at the world through the eyes of
your real
that work in progress.
That's true. Everyone is. Maybe you have some realizations, like that you just saw the world through the eyes.
You know, like this, like Alacha is it's like almost like living in the country. We have 3 acres, and there are we have horses. The next neighbors have horses. Another neighbor have chickens, you know, and you go outside the door and you see all these different insects and butterflies and birds. And yesterday I have a bird bath, because when it gets hot, it's very important for the birds that they get something to drink and they can take bath there. So the other day I found like a corpse of a little bird baby. He had drowned. So that was like, my heart was like breaking, you know, seeing that this bird bath had killed a little bird. But then I turned to the Shastra. Okay, any living entity here, we are destined to die, and it's just the external body. So there is no reason to lament, you know, for if a soul has left the body in whatever means, you know, then there's nothing to lament about, because the soul is eternal. And that's very applicable also, because, you know, I don't say that I'm trying to go in the direction, like recently there are 2 devotees here in Alacha. They have left. One of them was Gandharvika. She was a very wonderful artist too. And she was in her 40s, you know, so nobody of us knows when the time has come for us. So to use the scriptures to understand, to try to identify less with our bodies, but to become more aware of our eternal spiritual nature in relationship to God as his servant, you know. I think that's really one of the main issues that can help us to become more fearless when death approaches, which is like, yeah, it will approach. I mean, it's one of the traumas of life is death, and it happens all the time, and it happens to devotees, get sick, Parkinson, cancer. It's not that because we are devotees, we go through same things as everybody else on this earth planet.
Mm.
But if we can, you know, like seeing through the eye of the Shastras, you get this, you can understand, well, what am I afraid of? I'm not going to, it will be a continuation. It will give me new opportunities. So death can be not like something traumatic, but of course, you know, grieving is there. If somebody, if one of my close family members, I would be devastated. So it's not, even though I have this knowledge, you know, grieving is a process.
Mm.
But you know, to be more situated in our spiritual, in the realization that we are not this body. I feel it's very basic, but it's still very hard.
Yeah, maybe people, they also, this notion of seeing the world through the eyes of the scriptures, they over intellectualize it.
Yeah, I think so.
It should be very simple. And I really like the examples that you gave, because that's the whole point, that we are not these bodies and that we are servants of Krishna.
Yeah.
That's actually what we should realize through when we read the scripture.
When you are young, like you're still very young, then it's like, you know, you know the philosophy, but as you say, we theorizes it. And when you are actually getting older, I recently had like a hip replacement surgery because my hip had deteriorated to such a that I kind of had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is just the beginning. The body you get wrinkles. I didn't ask to get wrinkles. I would still like to look young and beautiful.
Yes, I totally understand that. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, I have to accept that old age is part of this. And, you know, it becomes more, not so theoretical, it becomes like a reality. So in that sense, it's a blessing to become old.
Right. I mean, I'm saying yes because my god sister, Guru Seva, Devi Dasi, she lives in Mayapur and she's also in her 60s. She said like that old age helps you detach.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very good. That's what she said.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you.
But, you know, like I still feel that I have never been in a better place in my life than I am now. So it's not like, you know, you become old and a little bit like bitter, you know, work out your stuff in this lifetime and go for your dreams and what you want to do, and don't sweat the small stuff, and try to find your fulfillment through this beautiful path of bhakti, you know, it works.
In your place also.
And it makes, I believe that it will make the transition to our next bodies less painful. Because even if we know the philosophy, it's still painful.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Sometimes as you said, like we are living lives just like everyone else, but just we have this knowledge, so that in that sense it helps. And I will say that through this understanding of what is written in the Shastras, you become a little bit fearless. I mean, and like you said, like that one day death is just a change. It's not like that it's all over. So in the sense there's no other life, and it's a change of service, as some say. So yeah, it's very, very, we are actually very blessed to have this knowledge that help us live the life in a more fulfilled way, because you know all these things. So
yeah, it's Prabhupada used to quote like Chanakya Pandit sometimes, and one of his statement is that knowledge is your best friend. Yeah, real knowledge, not just, I mean, there is so much, it's like an ocean, there's so much information and knowledge, and now with internet, social media, it can be easy to get lost in that. I had this experience too.
yeah, that's true.
But I feel positive about many what's happening in the moment. It's bound to change, you know, like all moments, they go through changes, and there's so much, so many sincere devotees. There are so many. I especially always was attracted to the second generation, and now my grandkids are the third generation. It's like I believe that they might not be stars, probably not, but they will definitely influence their environment with their personalities. The children that grow up now.
Yeah.
In the moment, there are many children that grow up in the moment now.
Yeah.
And it's nice because the perception of grihastha life has changed, you know. Like in the old days, when I got married to Vrinda's dad, it was like a fall down. It's like, anyway, I don't want to get into that. It was a lot of misconceptions, but like here in Alacha, we have lots of healthy second generation families who have children.
I mean, we had recently one wonderful lecture from Hari Prasad Prabhu, where he was listing all the yogas that are mentioned.
He did what?
He was explaining all the yogas that were mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and I think, and Bhakti. Yeah. And so he was giving the explanations of how the scriptures view all these yogas. And actually, we were not, as grihastas, we are not qualified to do any of them in this perfect way, as it is explained in the scriptures, except Bhakti yogas. Bhakti yoga.
Wow.
And even the animals can also practice Bhakti yoga because they can eat prasadam. So,
yeah.
In a way. So, yeah, I mean, the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is for the most fallen. So we are very lucky that we can practice it. So, yeah, I totally agree with you that the beautiful Grihastha families, very devotional, and their kids also are the future of this spiritual movement with their personalities and knowledge that they will gain through life. So everything you say is definitely true. So my next question, I mean, in a way you answered it, but I'm not going to ask as reading Prabhupada's books, because you can also listen to Prabhupada books. As you said, there are so many audio books now available, so it's totally different time. But what would you say, like, I know some people like to read, some people don't like to read, but is there a certain importance in reading, especially Prabhupada's books? Because you can say something.
I think there are, because I think all of us as devotees, we have experienced moment where when you read and something is like, it's talking to you, to your heart, you know. And I'm not an avid reader myself, but I want to share this with you. And when you find passages that, wow, if you just close the book and you continue after a few years, you don't remember this. So when you read this beautiful passages that have spoken to you, if you write them down, that's, I have been doing this not systematically, but over the years I have this.
Beautiful. What is
this is I collect
Mhm.
I have a collection here of quotes and verses, from about Krishna, about Radha, so it's categorized from different books. It's not like so extensive, but it's I can go back and I can get inspiration again and remember when I read it, and perhaps I will remember it at the time of death.
You will. Certainly. Krishna.
So this is very helpful. Sometimes I don't use it for months, but sometimes I use it more frequently, so that's one thing too. If you find passages, because if somebody's, I'm not like a preacher, I kind of share through my art, but if somebody's more like a preacher, they I feel they need to really assimilate and learn the philosophy so that they can with their words give this to other people. I think that's important. For me, it's more like I have this, it's more for my personal inspiration, but
that's very wonderful. I mean, it's an intimate meditation.
Yeah.
What inspires?
I like this in intimate meditations.
Yeah. That's very nice. Thank you for sharing that. So in the sense, it's like anyone can have a book of their own inspiration.
Yeah.
It's very wonderful. And I want to ask you, like, you explained about when you were painting for this Sita Spire trilogy book, how you did it and everything. And what about your other pictures? Like when, I don't know, I saw a picture of Radha Gopinath, and I saw, I think I saw the picture of Vrinda Devi and Narasimha Dev and Prahlad. I have that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, like a postcard, a greeting card, something like that. And so I just wanted to ask you, well, like, what is your process in when you create these pictures? How does it start? And
yeah, it's it depends. Now this book about Vrinda Devi, it will just be a small book, but I do large paintings. I like to work in that format, so it takes a little more time. And it's I had discussion with what's his name? I don't remember his name. He says Swami in New Vrindavan. So we had a group conversation. Him, his secretary, who is my friend, and me. Like phone conference. And we were entering these pastimes. It was like so amazing. It was like entering the spiritual world. He gave his vision. Varshana Maharaj, Varshana Swami is his name. And so that got me very inspired to do these paintings, because sometimes one thing I want to, because Krishna is the source of all beauty, and I'm like I'm a sucker for beauty. I love everything that's beautiful. I'm just drawn to beauty. Maybe that's why I was drawn to Krishna in this lifetime, because he's beautiful. Who else can describe a supreme being who's beautiful, like the description that's there in the Vedas? So, but it's not enough just to have I think this is important because like it's not enough just to have inspiration and feel the urge that I want to express how beautiful Krishna is, so that maybe somebody else can see how I can share this with somebody. Because art is so fine art is also a skill.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people, oh, your paintings are so beautiful, you're so talented. Well, I just yeah, talent is maybe 15%. The rest is hard work. People don't get it.
Yeah, of course. It takes time, effort, and patience.
Yeah, I take watercolor classes from she's not like a Krishna devotee, but she's very good with the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching how to apply, how to use your tools in the best way,
Mm-hmm.
to learn about composition and elements and principles of design, and how to organize the relationship with colors.
Mm-hmm.
For an artist, it's like endless. You can study your whole life practically. It's very interesting.
And how do you feel when you finalize your picture, when it's done and you see it?
That's like, then it's, oh, what will the next painting be?
Yeah.
But then I go back and I analyze the painting. What works, what doesn't work, what could I have done better? Maybe I can improve it if I still have it in my possession, or is it good as it is? And when I look back, it's like, because basically I'm self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have like this 2-year college, we didn't do any watercolors or any book illustrations and this kind of work that I'm interested in. So when I look back, it's like, wow, how could I do this? It's like, did I do this? I become a little bit like taken aback and feel amazed that it must be something more than me involved.
I mean, I really like it. Just like for an example, I mean, this picture is also very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, you like that one? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I like all of them. They're very beautiful, and we have also this one here. So
Yeah.
we really have a talent, and we're actually very grateful that you paint, so that we can also have visions of what is written in the scriptures about Krishna, about Lord Ramachandra. And I'm happy we also mentioned Lord Ramachandra because at least tomorrow here in Switzerland is Ramanavami. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. You're right.
Yes, it's nice that we mentioned them. And so I would like to ask my last question. And that is like, what would your message be for future generations, whether it's a second, a third generation, or new people who are coming in the movement? What would you tell to them about Prabhupada's books, and why would it be important that they read them, and what benefits they can have from reading Prabhupada's books?
Everybody has to discover for themselves. So the best thing is to join a group, a study group. Very few people can have the discipline to study by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's more just Brahminical, who have Brahminical minds,
Mm-hmm.
So this is, find a study group, or find a group where you click with the people, where you feel you can express yourself, where you can feel that you can express doubts, where you can express like misconceptions you have, and a secure place.
Mhm.
I think that's super important, a secure place, a group where nobody will judge you,
Mhm.
whatever you bring up, you know. Because sometimes I feel that in the ISKCON community, certain topics are like, you don't talk about them,
Mhm.
you know. But you can find a group with devotees where you can feel free to express yourself and feel encouraged and um, and learn. And maybe many of us, it's important to be have somebody to be accountable to, you
Mhm.
know. Oh, so did you read one verse of Bhagavad Gita? You know, you meet every week, but did you read one verse of Bhagavad Gita? And how did that apply to your life this last week? You know, something like that, just an example. That's applicable to anybody,
Mhm.
I think.
It's very nice what you said. I mean, I liked many of the points that you mentioned in our conversation. And I liked especially how you said that reading books and all this philosophy is not only an intellectual thing, but also like we should transform our hearts. And I liked now how you said that it's actually it's very important what you said that in this group where we feel secure and we can explore the scriptures and talk about all the topics. And yeah, sometimes it's difficult to just expect that you can talk about everything in a class. Maybe you can, but sometimes not. That's not even enough time. I don't know. 10 minutes of a question. So yeah, and to have some person with whom you can like connect and have this
Yeah.
responsibility.
Mm.
And thank you for sharing about how you express yourself through the art. And I hope this will be an inspiration for a lot of devotees who also have artistic inclinations, that they can also find their place in the path of bhakti, like to do these things. And for that, they need to also always refer to the books and Leelas of Krishna, of course, which are written there. And there was one more thing that I wanted to mention. Yes, and I thank you for sharing your vulnerability, that you said like that there are certain things because we come with a baggage in this movement and we all want to find our place and how to find it and how certain things help when we can express ourselves and find ourselves in the movement. And yes, the movement will change. We have the basic of Prabhupada's books here. And yeah, so we can do our best. And thank you for your realizations of the scriptures. You said it is in a simple way, but it's in a very important way how to see that we're spirit souls in everyday life. So thank you really for sharing. I always find it very nice when I can speak to the devotees about these topics. So thank you again.
You know, when I saw you first, I don't know you in person, but I immediately felt confident talking to you. So it's been a pleasure for me to connect
Thank
to
you.
you. So now you're not just a name, Loka Pavani. Now you're also
A little bit of a person. Maybe one day we'll meet in person. Who knows?
yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
that would be nice.
maybe you'll come before me to Radhatesh, Belgium to present your paintings. So
Yeah, I hope so.
yeah, I would love to come if you come there. So
There is he's putting up a Nrsingadev exhibition now, and a couple of my paintings will be part of that exhibition.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you again. So I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
And
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.